and welcome to episode 12 of the Tabletop Live podcast. I'm Matt, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Michael.
Hey.
And today we are celebrating our last episode of year one of the Tabletop Live podcast. Yes, folks, we've made it 12 months of bringing you varying degrees of information, comedy, and drama. We pull at your heartstrings every month.
You're really selling it.
I'm trying my best. In all seriousness, though, it has been really fun. So whenever we started this, I had not played maybe one tabletop game in my life. I was a complete noob, and over the past year, I've had a lot of awesome experiences. Went to Gen Con for the first time, which was a total blast. I'm already looking forward to going back to that. It's just awesome. I've played some awesome games, and game night has just become a part of my routine. So definitely it's been awesome. And plus, just learning the whole aspect of podcasting and all that goes into this, and it's definitely been a journey. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has been a journey. I mean, we've started from having no idea what we were going to do, or even what we were going to do a show about originally. We took some of the things we enjoyed doing and what we thought would be new and fresh, put our spin on it. It's been a very enjoyable time. I've had a lot of fun doing it with you.
I want to say a special thanks to anyone who's stuck with us since episode 1. We have discussed a couple times how going back and listening to the first episode was just really, really painful. But it's nice
almost
to see
embarrassing. I would really like to delete it from existence. But.
We're just going to silently re-record that one time, and it's going to sound 10 times better.
Yeah, I'll sneak in and re-edit.
Definitely, I like to think, at least, that the quality of both of our commentary and the audio production has went up as we've went along. So we'll see where the future goes, but so far, I'm happy with it. Happy to start another year.
Well, we've got enough games to at least last one more year.
Yeah. Lord only knows how many we'll buy this year. So
yeah, it's hard telling.
Okay, so let's follow up from last episode. We were getting down to the nitty-gritty of March Madness. I think we were down to the Elite 8 or so last time. So do you want to, as our resident sports analyst, do you want to tell us how that all shook out?
Yeah, it came down between Gonzaga and North Carolina, and ended up being a very good game. And I chose them in my bracket, and I'm sure a lot of others did as well, but it was not enough for me to win. I ended up losing by 1 point in my work pool, and I was very disappointed. But it was still fun. Can't wait till next year.
We didn't do a work pool this year, unfortunately.
I feel like that really brings, and it makes you watch it. I don't know. Root for teams that normally you wouldn't root for.
You get way more invested, yeah. And it's just, even like it's a $1 bet or something, you get way more invested.
Well, we don't bet dollars, we bet jelly beans. Betting dollars would be illegal, Matthew.
Hypothetically,
if hypothetical dollars were spent.
I don't know where you're doing this at. You could be filling out these brackets in Las Vegas where that's all kosher, right?
Of course.
I mean, that's just what we're assuming. For our listeners in Nevada, we're speaking to you right now. Jelly beans would be for the other 49 states. For Nevada, you know what I'm talking about.
You know.
Wink, wink. Okay. I gotta get serious for a minute. I know, I'm very aware that sometimes we drone on and on and on about things that have nothing to do with tabletop games. But I'm gonna sneak this one in there. I'm so pumped that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 comes out in 2 weeks. That is one of my favorite superhero movies. And the trailer they've got so far just looks fantastic.
It does look very good.
I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about that than I am any of the other Marvel movies that are coming out. Or DC movies.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, that first one it really caught me off guard. I didn't expect it to be that well done. And I loved it. I mean, I've watched it. We were just talking about before the show. I think I've seen it well over 10 times.
And did you...
What?
Did you see, I think today or yesterday, James Gunn, the director, announced that he's coming back for Guardians 3.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, I would hope so.
Well, he was debating it there for a while, whether he was going to do a third one or not. So, but it's confirmed now. He's coming back.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I really loved it. We even bought the soundtrack on vinyl. Rock it out every once in a while. I mean, I'm sure we've listened to it at a game night or two.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a great soundtrack.
It is.
Now we get that out of our system, we can move on to our tabletop gaming news. Starting off, we've got Days of Wonder has announced a new Ticket to Ride. This is Ticket to Ride Germany. It's just been the past week or so.
Right.
They haven't said when it's coming out, but it's definitely got a German theme to it. You build your own rail network at the end of the 19th century in Germany. Looks kind of cool.
Yeah. I honestly thought there already was a German one, but that must be what? Märklin? What is that? I thought that was the German map.
Yeah. It says uses the same route network previously seen in the Märklin edition.
Okay. So what's the difference besides... Is there a difference?
Using the route network previously seen in the Märklin edition, Ticket to Ride Germany introduces a new and exclusive passengers rule. Additionally, the game includes short and long destination tickets to choose from, making Ticket to Ride Germany a simple and elegant variant to the original game, with new challenges which will please newcomers and veterans alike.
Nice. So there is a difference.
Okay, here we go. It's just like regular Ticket to Ride. You connect your routes just like you would do in a regular Ticket to Ride game. But you actually pick up people, if I understand this right. Competitors need to watch out their opponents who might be trying to reach the same far-flung corners of the German Empire and outwit them by collecting valuable passenger meeples from the cities faster than they can.
So when you connect to a city, you must pick up people?
That's what it looks like, yeah. As you connect to cities, you pick up meeples who then you can transport to other cities.
Interesting.
So this will definitely be one to keep an eye on. We'll put a link in the show notes. I mean, I always love me some Ticket to Ride, so I won't complain about different maps.
I know we need to get, what was last year's, the world one? I can't think of what it was called.
Well, there's a Ticket to Ride Europe, isn't there?
There is a Europe. There's all kinds of them. But there was one last year that came out that I think introduced boats, if I remember correctly. It came out at Gen Con. Remember that?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I forgot about that game.
All right. Well, hey, we can start buying games for Season 3 of Tabletop Life. Oh. Okay. So, the other news we've got this month is...
I'm hearing from the back that the episode, or the game is Rails and Sails.
I do remember that now. We'll drop a link to that in the show notes as well for everyone who's looking, because I've seen it on Amazon, I believe.
Have you?
Yeah.
Last I checked, I think it was still like in the release stage, or it was very expensive, if I remember correctly.
I don't think
it was like right when it came out.
I don't know how long ago it's been, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it on Amazon recently. So now we have 2 to get, because we need to get Europe and now Rails and Sails.
$74.98 on Amazon right now.
There you go, kids. Save your lunch money.
That's a lot of lunches.
That's a lot of PB and J.
Depends on where you're eating.
Yeah. If you like to eat Chipotle, it's not very long, maybe a week or so.
So, Matthew, if you'd like to add another game to the collection, Rails and Sails.
There we go. Why not? I think Amazon just has some... I'm going to get frequent flyer miles from Amazon pretty soon.
I know somebody that has the discount credit card where you get like rewards back from it, and they do very well on that.
I need to invest in that. As much stuff as I order off Amazon.
He buys like everybody's stuff on Amazon. Like somebody wants to buy something, they go through him.
It's like a pimp for Amazon.
Everything goes through him, and he gets his cut.
Wow. I guess that's an honorable profession.
Yeah. Hey.
I'm not going to argue with the guy. I mean, he's a pimp. I don't want to get involved in that.
All that internet money.
That internet money. All right. Well, on to something a little more legitimate. let's talk about building an evil galactic empire. So, Fantasy Flight Games has put out a preview for Star Wars Destiny, the Spirit of Rebellion. And we'll get a link to this in the show notes as well, but it's just showing some of the new cards and dice coming and the first expansion to the Star Wars Destiny card game that I don't think you can even buy yet.
Even get?
You can't buy the original, so here comes the expansion.
So here comes the expansion that nobody can play.
I've still been trying. I've looked several times to try and get it. I'm checking right now to see if it's still out of stock. Yeah. I don't know what their plan is with this, but
surely, I mean, if they're coming out with an expansion, I would think they have to be working on a reprint right now. Right?
They were supposedly working on a reprint several months ago.
Well, I mean, it takes a couple months.
Now, the last that I had read was that this reprint is a one-time only thing. They were, if the report I read is to be believed, they were caught off guard by how popular Star Wars Destiny was. But going forward, they're going to release like starter packs with each expansion. And when they're sold out, they're sold out. And you're just kind of screwed till the next one comes out. But it's going to create an interesting problem because with each one of these expansions, if there's new starter packs, they should, in theory, replace the previous starter packs. So everyone who's playing is going to have to keep buying new starter packs. And so the same people will either be buying this game over and over again, or it'll have a really high churn rate. Which I don't know. I mean, the people who've played it seem to love it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they just don't print more. This is like Nintendo logic. Like, we don't want money. We have something people want. How can we not make money?
News releasing this week.
I didn't think of. Yeah, we'll just add that to the show notes because I can rail on that for a couple minutes.
I figured you would be pretty hot about it.
I'm pretty sure the other day I read the news. Just for anyone who hasn't heard, the NES Classic, the little $50 NES emulator that you can't find anywhere because it's so popular, Nintendo's discontinuing it because
because that makes sense.
If it makes money, they don't want to be in that business, apparently. So,
yeah, I do not understand that.
I would be worried if you did understand Nintendo's logic at this point. I would have you seek a mental health professional because they don't make any damn sense. There's two logical reasonings that I've heard for this that I will accept. The first one is because there are some third-party games on the NES Classic, was that one of these third-party publishers who licensed their game to them came back and said, "Whoa, this thing's really successful, so now we want to triple our rates."
Yeah,
because it's only $50. So I mean, a publisher could in theory hold them hostage, but it seems like they would just take that game off and then make more of them.
Yeah.
The other, and to me more plausible reason, is Nintendo has only got so much manufacturing capacity in the factories they've bought out, and they need to shut down the NES Classic so that they can make more Switches because they're behind on that too.
That could be.
So the moral of the story is that Nintendo can't plan anything out very well, and they're allergic to things that make money. However,
that could be a show title: "Allergic to Making Money."
Nintendo allergic to making. It sounds like a Broadway play. Nintendo allergic to making money. If, however, if you haven't been able to get one yet, I doubt you're going to be able to find one in the next month unless you're super lucky. If you scour Google, you will come across a little mini computer called a Raspberry Pi, and you can pick those up for I think anywhere between $15 to $30. Find one of your nerdy friends and pay them $20 to install a NES emulator on there and hook it up to your TV, and you've got a homemade NES Classic that'll play any game you put on it.
Yeah, with everything. And
Super Nintendo games, and PlayStation games, and a lot of other stuff too. Sega. So be nice to your geeky friends, and they will more than make up for the fact that Nintendo doesn't understand economics. Oh, I feel so much better. It's like my therapy. I'll never need a therapist as long as I can rant on a podcast about all the dumb things Nintendo does.
Cut to you in 30 years, just full beard, screaming into the microphone all night long.
Stupid Nintendo!
I can't believe them.
No, because as we all know, I've already predicted it. In 30 years, Nintendo will be fine because they'll just be making software because all their hardware platforms will have tanked from the terrible decisions they're making now.
Well, somehow they're still around and they just keep doing it.
I'll give them their credit. They have a very loyal following of people who will buy whatever crap they shovel out there at whatever prices, and they don't care. They love the Nintendo IP so much that no matter how broken it is, they defend them. I've seen. I'm a Mac guy. I'm real deep in the whole Apple ecosystem, and I've seen the same thing there. There are some people who, and Apple does the same thing. They make stupid decisions. I mean, they're a lot better at wanting to take your money and giving you stuff, but they've done it too. And there's some people who just, whatever comes across, oh, no, it's fine. Apple knows what they're doing. It's like, no, they don't. Not always. So.
Well, I hope you can find some happiness, Matt.
Let me just go chain smoke a few real quick, and we're good to go. Woo!
Would we like to move on to games of interest?
I think we should.
Sponsored by Nintendo.
Sponsored by Sega.
You're playing with Nintendo power now.
These games.
Needless to say, we're not going to get a Nintendo sponsor anytime soon.
We could go with the old commercial that these games do what Nintendo don't. Poor Sega. So, Michael, tell us about your game of interest this month.
Well, my game of interest this month, I don't even know if it's coming out because I cannot find any information on it. All I have found is that this game, which is called This War of Mine, is going to be coming out sometime this year, but I can't tell if it's a Kickstarter game or if it's actually getting released to the public. But this is a game that I've started playing recently on the PS4, and I love it. There's not a lot to it as far as like game mechanics go and what you're doing, but it's just the survival aspect and building up your colony and taking care of like the emotional part of everything, which is a fun twist on games, is worrying about everybody's emotional state and making sure everybody's good. That it's really appealed to me. And I've been burning it up. And then I got on, we were looking for games of interest that are coming up, and I saw that This War of Mine is coming out on a board game form. So obviously I was very excited. And unfortunately I can't find any more info on it, but hopefully in the near future I can see if it's coming out to the public or not.
It looks really, really cool. The action cards and stuff here look really, really sweet. The art on it,
everything
awesome.
Looks good. I mean, even the people are the same characters from the game, so they've kept it very close to the game. I don't know. I hope it gets released because I'm definitely gonna pick that up.
Looks like a lot of the photos that the ones I'm looking at here are from the Spiel show in Germany.
Oh yeah.
So I'd say if it made it that far, if they're showing it off, that's like a German Gen Con.
Yeah, I would assume that's coming out for everybody. I always miss these. I wish I had a way of getting alerted to all these fun Kickstarter projects.
Very cool.
I'm always late. Always late to the party, Matthew.
That is the problem, isn't
it? Well, here's a game that I guess even if I would have seen that it was a Kickstarter, I'd never played the game until just recently, so it wouldn't have even mattered. But it does look like a lot of pieces. It looks like a game that might be a little overwhelming when you take it out of the box. I would assume it's going to play a lot like a video game version, and if that's the case, then I should be able to pick it up pretty easily.
Well, yeah, if you already played through all that, it'd be.
I mean, like the living quarters and everything looks very similar. If it's not the same as, I think it might even be the same. What game are you looking at?
I am actually. This is an old game, but we were talking about it recently, and it's really piqued my interest. It's Pandemic Legacy. So, I've become a big fan of Pandemic. Despite how frustrating it is, I love the challenge. Legacy is a really interesting add-on, or sequel, however you want to call it. You play through, it's like 12 to 24 sessions, and as you're playing through, you can actually lose characters and lose components to the game. And new components and rules will be introduced, it says. What really caught me was like, characters can die, and there may be times where it tells you to write on cards or rip up cards, or you put permanent stickers over things, and you can't use them ever again. Like, in any other game in the future, like, you know, like, throw it in the trash. You can't play that character anymore. Ever again. So, effectively, I mean, you're buying a disposable game because you're going to be throwing it away piece by piece as you play through it.
Which is wild to think about.
It is, but the concept is kind of cool. Because, I mean, it's the same way with video games. Like, you think about, like, Grand Theft Auto. Like, there are no consequences, because you can go and ramp cars off buildings, and if you die, you just reload. If you have ever played any of the video games where you don't have, like, save points, where you have to make it through the entire game in, like, one life, like the uber difficulty modes,
yeah,
you play so much differently. Because, you can't just, like, rush in and get shot and, okay, reload and do it again. Like, you've got to really plan things out like you would in almost like real life, like if you were in that situation. The stakes are so much higher. This is like the tabletop version of that to me. So I think the concept is really cool. Now, if these games are like really, really expensive, I mean, this one is listed on Amazon for $38 right now. That's not so bad. But, I mean, if they were really, really expensive, I think that would be an issue. If they can keep costs down, and you know it's a game you already like the Pandemic that you already have is not like this. Like, you can play it over and over and over again, and it never disintegrates. If you have a base game that you can get into, know you like it, and then these expansions have that heightened sense of loss to them, it's kind of cool thing to try out. I wouldn't want every game to be like this, but for certain ones, every now and then, it just kind of breaks the monotony up.
Yeah, it's a nice fun twist on it.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see. I'm not sure. We haven't played done Pandemic for the show yet, have we?
We have not.
Oh, I'm gonna have to pick up Legacy and see how it goes. That'll be an interesting episode.
Yeah, we could really compare the two games.
Definitely.
Which we probably should have done for the game we're doing this show.
That's an excellent segue. What game is this show, Michael?
This is Agricola Family Edition. Now, we have not played the original Agricola, so if you're looking for a comparison episode, we're sorry we've wasted about 30 minutes of your time. But we can tell you about this version. I picked it up, December of last year. I think I got it about Christmas time. And we've played it probably 5 or 6 times, and so far I've had a lot of fun with it. What did you think?
It was good. We talked about when we were playing it, it was kind of similar to Stone Age, which we had done a few episodes back. I wasn't crazy about Stone Age. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't one of those games like Ticket to Ride where, I reference all the time. It's like, oh yes, this is my definition of tabletop gaming. It was passable. And I definitely think Agricola was in that same vein. It's not one of my all-time favorite games, but if somebody said, hey, let's play Agricola, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it wouldn't be one that I would seek out.
They're both very similar games in the aspect that you are trying to create a family to get more turns, and you need to feed these people at the end of so many turns, and you have to feed these people to keep them alive and not lose points. And both games are both very similar in that aspect.
It's definitely got the kind of homestead vibe of you've got your home, you're going to farm, you're going to raise livestock, and it's a lot of it's resource management.
It's heavy resource management.
Yeah, I mean that's most of the game, at least to me.
And worker placement.
Yeah, I did like with Agricola. I liked how it had the path. You just had to follow for your turns. There's 14 rounds in this game, And every so often, I think it varies, but after every so many turns, you have where you have to like harvest and they call them stages. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's like the end of a stage. Yeah, you are correct.
Yeah, at the end of these stages, you harvest your crops, you slaughter your livestock, or the livestock reproduce.
Well, you
feed
don't have
your
to
people.
slaughter your livestock.
You can, depending on how you have it set up, but you have all these options that open up to you that you can do, and like feeding your people, you have to do. And otherwise, you're just really spending the rest of those stages preparing for the end of that stage, of setting yourself up. And it's just building up resources, buying things, making sure you have available land for both the crops and the animals. Because if not, you're just, whatever you get, you're wasting. And it all comes down to points. Like, everything has a certain point value to it, and at the end of the game, he or she who has the most points wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very simple game, I thought, to explain to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the board, you might think it's a little much, but it's really not. Those are just the different resources you can get by placing your meeple on them. And then, as far as the round, like you said, the round counter, you have 14 rounds. Everyone is following the same round counter. So it's got one token, and round one, we start on round one. At the end of that, it moves up to 2. And each round after that, you'll unlock like a different thing. Like, one of them is you can build clay rooms. One of them you can start adding new meeples to your home as long as you have new rooms. And then eventually it upgrades to cattle and pigs. And it's every round of the game you get something new to do. But it only gives you one of those tokens to choose on. So that puts a little value on being first player, because the first player every turn not only gets one free food, but they get first choice on the board of what they get, and when we played it, I was first player for a very long time, and I feel like that really gave me a huge advantage. I mean, you never chose to take first player back, and I pretty much ran the table.
I should have, because to quote the great Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last in this game.
And in a worker placement game, if you don't have first choice in everything that gets taken, you're last.
I was definitely sidetracked trying to wrap my head around the whole stages and getting set up for that it just completely slipped my mind that, oh yeah, I need to get that first place back. But I think by that point I had gotten so far behind. We had a very interesting switch of power in our game that I was just chasing you the entire second half. And
yeah, early on you were dominating the game. And then it was about the time I took first player, it really switched the game around. But yeah, early on I didn't have a whole lot of anything. Well, I added the extra person too. I think that really turned the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Adding that extra turn, I had 3 turns compared to your 2, and I was first player. I mean, that's just, how are you going to win?
Exactly. I do think if you've not played, and I have played Stone Age, but not a lot, if this is not your cup of tea, you definitely need to play a game or two to get used to the feel of it, because there are some real inflection points where, as you're going through the stages, you've got to really kind of change your game plan. And I think playing through once really drives home where those points are. Because there was definitely times where I think, oh, I really, at point A, I need to be prepping for this. And I totally did not see that coming until I'm looking back at the end of the game and I'm like, oh, crap, there's where I messed up. So I think you need a game or two to kind of get the feel down. But it's not a hard game. Not by any means.
No, and I enjoy it, but I really do enjoy the worker placement games.
I don't dislike them. They're not, I don't know how to describe it. I don't get excited by them. I won't say I find them boring, but I mean, there's a lot of monotony to it. And definitely sometimes I find myself just kind of glazing over things that I should really be paying more attention to.
Yeah, and the two games that we have, at least, when you have to feed people, that gives you a different. You want to concentrate on one thing, but then you're like, well, do I have enough food to feed my people, or what strategy can I take? Like you said, you buy pastures in the game, and each pasture can hold a certain amount of livestock in it. Once your pasture's full, you can store one in your home, and then after that, anything that you don't have room for, you can't do anything with. So at the end of each of the stages, your animals reproduce. If you have no space for it, you can't do anything with it. So and what we did is we added the cooking stove, and therefore you could exchange your sheep or your cattle or your hogs for food. So therefore we didn't have room for them at the end of the stage, but we just turned them into food instantly. So it's things like that. I like that you can play it different ways. You can either concentrate on your grain or your livestock, or maybe even a little of both. But I like games that it's got a little flexibility on how you're going to attack it.
Yeah, and whenever you were explaining this to me, I remember you telling me that you could either win by we had in your experience you'd play with different people who'd one going livestock only, farming only, and combinations of the two. And I totally see that after going through it. Like, I can't remember which episode it was, but recently we talked about a game where I remember saying how you had to pay attention to all these different things because you couldn't win any other way. Dream Home.
Yeah.
Yeah. How I remember I was very adamant, like, you just can't win by focusing on the roof or the basement or the bonuses. You had to do a little bit of everything. Agricola is the opposite of that. Like, you can totally focus on one thing and just be, like, the best at it and win this game.
Yeah. No matter what you do in the game, as long as you're the best at it, you're going to win.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have at least a good chance to win.
Not if you're the best. Then you always win.
Well, if you're the best farmer up against the best livestocker, rancher.
Oh, that is true. Sure. That is true.
It'd be interesting to see how that turns out.
And I feel like the game's very weighted both ways. I think that it's balanced very well, that you can't just run away with it. One is definitely not more powered than the others.
Yeah, the balance on it is very nice. I'll give it that.
Now, one complaint I do have with the game is there's not nearly enough resources in it. Like not even close. I mean, me and you played a two-person game, and we almost ran out of reeds and grain. And that's a two-person game. I mean, it's a four-person game.
Yeah, well, and like you said, it mentions in the instructions, like, that they gave you, like, use pennies if you run out of stuff. So they anticipate you're going to run out of things. I mean, this is just not acceptable. Like, this is where you
tack on an extra $10 to the game and fill it with pieces.
Agricola people, come on. Do not ship a game that people are going to run out of pieces on. You don't have to give them an abundant number, but you at least need to be able to play the game. And I don't know if it's a cost-saving measure or it's a QA issue, like we ran into with Oregon Trail, where I don't think they'd ever played the game. But I mean, if when you do second edition, this is a gimme. Put more pieces in the box. If you need to raise the price by a few bucks, raise the price. And I was just dumbfounded. You can't even order extra pieces.
No.
If you're going to ship a game without the required amount of pieces to play, at least make it an option where people can go buy like a $10 pack of just spare pieces and double the quantities on everything. They don't offer that. That's definitely probably the biggest issue with this game is the lack of pieces.
Now you can to anybody out there that did get the game, what I did was went to Hobby Lobby, and they have pre-colored clay, and you just knead it and then cut it to shape and bake it in the oven, and you make your own pieces. And I actually did that to make some of the pieces. I've got quite a bit more to finish, but it was a little time-consuming, but it was definitely nice. Next time we play it, we shouldn't run out. So that is a solution if you have, I don't know, about 2 weeks on your hands to make game pieces.
Or Mayfair Games, I'm talking to you. Add more pieces. Your people shouldn't have to spend 2 weeks filling in the gaps that you've left in this game. Come on.
But all in all, very fun game. But the pieces was a big oversight. I guess it wasn't even an oversight. They knew what they were doing. It says in the instructions they knew what they were doing. Maybe our people just hoard resources too much. Maybe that's the issue. But then they've got where there's multipliers that you can buy, where you say you have 2 wood in your stock. For every 2, you get a point. So of course you're going to hoard the resources. You get points for it.
I honestly, like I said, we play 2-player. I can't imagine being able to play this game 4-player.
We've played it 4-player, and we had quarters and pennies and dimes and nickels. And
yeah, as I said,
the whole time we're like, what's this? What's the nickel here?
I can't imagine it working. So that's definitely the black eye on this game. I said I'm not a huge fan of the worker placement resource management games. I mean, they're okay, but not my favorite. But it's an enjoyable game besides that. I don't have any major issues with how it plays. It's very similar to Stone Age. If you like Stone Age, you're going to like this game. It's not... we'd never played the regular version of Agricola, but my understanding is that this one is a little more, or a lot more calmed down. And
from what I've read, much more family friendly.
Not as dramatic and anger-inducing as the full-fledged version.
I've read some reviews on the original that said that they played it with their spouses or whatnot, and they hated the game so much that they never even played it again. So I don't want that.
There you go. Maybe that should be the tagline for this game. Saving marriages, Family Edition, saving marriages since 2015. Until you run out of pieces.
Well, there's nothing more frustrating than getting a game out that it's almost such a challenge that nobody else wants to play it with you. I mean, what good's that?
Well, yeah, what's a game no one wants to play it?
I mean, you gotta... I mean, I'm sure it is fun to play, but if it's so much fun, if it's that stressful for people, that's not enjoyable. Now, that being said, I think I am going to buy a copy of the original just to play it, just to have it. Because it does look like there's different mechanics, and it looks like there's fencing involved in it, and vegetables and things like that.
Yeah, I like Doom, so a difficult game or a challenging game is not always a bad thing. It's just in how it's handled. Honestly, I'd be more frustrated with running out of pieces than I would be a challenging game.
If you would like to buy the original, there are 8 left on Amazon.
Only 8?
The game was discontinued of the original, so...
Just put it on my tab.
Yeah? Okay, I just bought it.
Just bought 8 copies in case we run out.
I bought the lot.
So, at the end of the day, Michael, can you recommend Agricola Family Edition?
I can. I think it's a good family game. I think it really teaches worker placement mechanics to people. If this is the type of game you like, you probably really enjoy it. If you enjoy the Stone Age type games, Agricola is right up there. I mean, I loved it.
I also can recommend it. I think it's a little easier than Stone Age. Again, it's very similar, but I think it's a little bit easier to kind of grasp. It's more linear, but the pieces are going to be the biggest issue. So, if you got some time to make some spare pieces, you're probably set.
And it wasn't really that bad. I think, honestly, I spent like a whole night. But still, I mean, it was a whole night making pieces. But it was fun.
Or for our valued listeners, you just wait until Mayfair Games hears this podcast, and they're like, crap, we got to put more pieces in the box. You're welcome.
And who knows? There might already be a third-party seller making them right now. Maybe we'll see them at Gen Con this year.
Just a guy dressed up like a pilgrim with a 3D printer.
Mm-hmm. That's all you needed.
That's really it. 3D printers for the win.
That's what we need to get and make our own pieces. No, I can't find pieces either. Ugh.
A 3D printer will solve a lot of problems, Michael. But you know what problem it won't solve?
What's that?
An evil emperor trying to take over your galaxy.
Whoa!
Which leads us into our game of the month for next month. Do you want to tell the people what it is?
Pew pew. We are playing Star Wars X-Wing.
Just in time for May the 4th. We may not get the episode out by May the 4th, but we will try our darndest.
We will try. That is a 2-week window, so we'll see if we can make that happen.
May the Force be with us. Because we're going to need it.
We are definitely going to need it. Yeah, I don't know. We might be able to do it. We'll see.
We'll see. The gauntlet has been thrown down. So, while you wait on us to have our awesome lightsaber battle, you can check out this podcast and all of our previous episodes on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. You can also visit our website at www.tabletopLifePodcast.com for past episode links, YouTube links, links to Amazon to buy the games we've talked about, and also photos of game nights that we've had. And you can also follow us on social media in the meantime at Tabletop Life on Twitter and Instagram for our little photographers out there. And unless you've got anything else, that's all I've got for this episode.
That is all I have.
Alrighty. Until next time, game over.
See ya.